What's happening, everybody? Jay Shockblast here, and we are playing the Marvel Heroes. I know I should probably play the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game for this, but I feel like in order to do a live review commentary, I need to play something that I can concentrate and talk at the same time. And I've done it before with this game, and I feel like I can do it again. This review will not be perfect. It's not going to be scripted. It is literally, off the cuff with me just telling you what I think. There will absolutely be tons of spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie yet, I definitely recommend that you wait until you see the movie before you watch this review. It's more of a discussion than a review. Me telling you, my thoughts on the movie, my thoughts on the story, and my thoughts as to what's going to happen next. Obviously, I've got my two Spider-Men going here, and I'm going to run around just playing this game while I talk about it. Obviously, I saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2 last night. It's the second movie with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And, the main villains, of course, end up being, Green Goblin as Harry Osborn, and Max Dillon, the ultimate Electro. All in all, it's a good movie. If I had to rate it based on the movie itself, the story it told, and all of that, I would probably say it's about a 7 out of 10. I guess I'm going to give it probably an 8 based on where I am in my life when I'm watching it. So if I average those two together, I'll give it a 7.5. I know that doesn't make sense, but there's a few reasons why I feel how I do about this movie. And, I'll share that all with you guys in just a moment. So basically, if I wasn't thinking with my heart, if I was just thinking with what I saw, I would say 7. If I was thinking with my heart, which I always do, I'm probably going to think 8. So averaging the two, I know I already said this, we're going to make it a 7.5 out of 10. So why 7.5? Why am I talking about heart, and why am I talking about, thinking about just the actual movie? Because I'm a human being, and at the core of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a love story between, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Now, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie, and that's something you just have to really keep in mind. If you've ever followed Spider-Man before, and I'm not necessarily, the biggest Spider-Man fan per se, but, I obviously know a lot about the history of one of the most seminal characters, in the history of comic books. I mean, Spider-Man is, and always will be, one of the top 3 we'll say top 5 comic book characters. You know what? Actually, let me take that back. We'll say top 3. I mean, realistically, the top 3 comic book characters of all time are probably Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Let's be real. I mean, you can maybe say Captain America. You can maybe say, Iron Man. But at the end of the day, Spider-Man is, as recognizable a face as any pop culture character in the history of pop culture. So, for Spider-Man movies, they have to be good, number one. And number two, if you're a comic book fan, you have to kind of know your Spider-Man history, or at least a little bit of it. You have to know a little bit about Spider-Man. Is I guess the point I'm trying to get to. So, going back to my original point, Gwen Stacy. I think there were some people that were surprised when they picked Gwen Stacy and not Mary Jane in telling the origin story. But I really can't say that I am. I mean, it's definitely it makes a lot of sense to have Gwen Stacy. The death of Gwen Stacy is one of the biggest moments in comic book history. I think I already started to say that, but it's true. She was a huge part of Peter Parker's life. It was a huge moment in comic book history simply because, Spider-Man experienced death, you know? He experienced loss. You know, he figured out, holy cow, I cannot always save the day. You know? Like, I am not, you know, perfect. I am not, you know, I want to save the day. I have all the right intentions in mind, but at the end of the day, I can't do it, you know? And, that was a huge moment in comics. I think even Stan Lee, you know, basically stated that, you know, for him, it was one of the most important comic book moments of all time. And, you know, I'm trying to heal this guy. Sorry, I'm just really concentrating on healing this guy. Alright, I got him. So anyway, you know, that was something that you kind of see coming throughout the whole movie. You know, Peter sees Captain Stacy, played by Dennis Leary, one of the greatest comic book, or one of the best actors of all time. You know, he sees his, you know, image in everything that he does. He realizes, you know, constantly, you know, I can't do this. I can't put her in jeopardy. You know, at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man, the first movie, you know, Captain Stacy, before he dies, you know, basically says to Peter, you know, stay away from Gwen. You know, don't get her in this. You're going to make enemies. And, you know, you're doing the right thing. I believe in you. But just please leave my daughter out of it. And it's a constant struggle. And, you know, they break up, they get back together, they break up, they get back together, you know, like people in love do, you know, like that happens in life. And, you know, one of the real things in the movie that she, that they say that, you know, why, strange manhole, why won't it let me do anything with it? Anyway, one of the things that he says in the movie at one point is, there's 20,000 reasons why we shouldn't be together, but all that matters to me is the one reason we should, and that's that I love you. And I'm not gonna lie, that made me cry, you know? Like, yeah, it's not even like, it's kind of generic and cliche, but like I said, you know, everybody's lives life, and everybody goes through things in their life, and you know, I'm going through some things in mine right now, and for me, that really hit me hard, because it's what I believe in, you know? Like, I believe, you know, that in love, you know, I believe that, you know, love is not a perfect thing. It's not something with a definition. It's not something that you have to typecast and say, you know, these are all, unless this, and this happens, you know, we can't have this. And, you know, for me to see that portrayed on the screen, like I said, that's why I really enjoyed the movie. That's why I really enjoyed the love story aspect of it. Had I watched it at another point in my life, like a lot of you guys might be, you know, you guys might not get the same thing that I get out of it, because it's always such a personal thing, and that's why reviews are always, you know, hit or miss, you know? Like, it's hard for me to sit here and say my review is going to really sway anybody. That, you know, the love story aspect of this movie is really great. You know, for me, just seeing them be so back and forth, seeing the fact that, you know, even though they think they're doing the right thing, each of them, you know, Peter is the one that's constantly breaking up with Gwen, constantly breaking her heart, and, you know, even though all of that is happening, you know, he thinks he's doing the right thing, you know, then finally she says, you know what, Peter, I can't keep doing this, I break up with you, you know, I can't keep going back and forth, I can't keep, you know, having you come in and out of my life, you know, I break up with you, like, this time it's me, you know, I can't do it, and, you know, again, like, it's the whole personal aspect of it, you know, I guess for some reason, like I feel the need to justify why I really love the love story aspect of it, because like for a lot of movies that's kind of what ruins it. You know, like a lot of these type of movies, like Star Wars, like the new trilogy. I think a lot of people really hated the fact that, you know, it was less about Star Wars, you know, being a Star Wars movie, and more about being a love story. And for me, it's like the quite the opposite in this case. Like, I love the fact that it's a love story. Like, the love story that was told, I feel like again was told for me, and that's why I really enjoyed the movie the most, and why I enjoyed the love story the most. You know, Gwen Stacy was a huge part of Peter's life. She helped him become the Spider-Man he ended up becoming. If he didn't lose Gwen Stacy in the comics, he never would have, you know, been the way he was. And that goes with Mary Jane too. You know, like he learned a lot out of the Gwen Stacy, you know, Gwen Stacy dying, and he learned a lot out of, you know, all of it. So, and you can tell that that's really kind of hitting him in the movie as well. You know, like, you know, yeah, Gwen Stacy dies obviously at the end, and I really actually felt like they did a great job with it. You know, she does die. I mean, she has to die because Gwen Stacy, like, that ultimately is her fate. You know, death. And I felt that since, you know, she appeared in the first movie, it's like, okay, so basically they're having Gwen Stacy be the character instead of Mary Jane, so that, you know, she can die. You know, that's what it comes down to, is, you know, Gwen Stacy will eventually die, and that's the point of the story. So, you know, they have Green Goblin kill her, and I haven't really even imagined, you know, talked about Green Goblin yet, but, you know, that's how it happens in the comics. It's not exactly the same as it happened in the comics, but it's pretty close, and that's always a big complaint for me, is when, you know, company or directors and producers and people like that kind of stray from the path of what actually happened. You know, I feel like they did a great job of portraying that final scene with Gwen falling and Peter, you know, thinking that he saved her again or saved the day again by grabbing her with the web string, and ultimately she hit her head. You know, she dies and she's hanging there dead, and he holds her and embraces her, and it's almost like exactly from the comic. You know, that just iconic image of Spider-Man, you know, sitting there crying about, you know, the killing the girl he loves. You know, so, you know, that part was really moving and gripping and powerful, and I really think that they did just a fantastic job of showing the death of Gwen Stacy. You know, so that's that. The love story, you know, again, I know I'm really kind of going back and forth with the love story, and I think you guys get it at this point. You know, Jay's going through some shit, and this helped me cope. I really feel like, you know, that's the biggest thing that I'll take from this movie, and why it will always mean something to me, is it gave me hope. It helped me recover. It helped me, you know, understand that, hey, you know, shit happens. You know, it's better to love than to have never loved. You know, it's better to love and have been loved than, you know, never feel it. It's better to, you know, just experience life, you know, like, and not live life in fear. And I'm not going to live life in fear personally. Like, I don't feel like I feel like I did in a way, but at the same time I feel like I didn't. And I feel like I just have new perspective. You know, it's crazy to think that a comic book movie made me feel some perspective. But, you know, that's why I'm going to sit here and be a defender of the movie, you know, like, and feel like they really hit a mark, because I feel like people are going to learn something from it. And, you know, there is also that aspect of this being a kid's movie. I mean, that is, at the end of the day, what most comic book movies are. And for pretty much the entire movie, it deals with a lot of very, you know, it has a very kiddish overtone. Like, you can tell, hey, we know what our market is, and we're trying to hit it. And that's okay. I don't think for adults that really is going to be lost on anybody. Like I don't think anybody will will be will sit there and say, oh my god, this is just a ploy for the kids or anything like that. I really feel like for the adults like myself that watch the movie, you're going to just appreciate everything for what it is. I mean, yeah, there's some things that they could have done differently, but the love story is not one of them. I mean, that is the story of Peter and Gwen. Like they had to tell that story. They had to build it up. They had to make sure everybody understands. Holy crap. Peter and Gwen. Because I think, like, again, going back, everybody knows that Peter and Gwen are we're a big part of each other's lives. I think everybody knows that. Oh, I'm gonna die. Shit. I just walked right into that. I think everybody knows that. Hey, who Gwen Stacy is. I mean, like, again, she's an iconic, love interest in all of comics. So, I know everybody knows that, but it's good that they spent the whole movie showing, the loss and all of that. So, that he was afraid of this and that it happened. That's important. So, it also, I think, is going to establish, again, for when you go back in and you realize, hey, there's going to be, an Amazing Spider-Man 3. There's going to hopefully be an Amazing Spider-Man 4. All that stuff's going to happen. And, this really sets it all up. Because Mary Jane is going to be in a movie. She's going to be his love interest eventually. I don't even know where the Blob is. That is going to be, a real moment in the Amazing Spider-Man story. And so for that, I'm really just definitely glad that they did involve Gwen Stacy and they didn't skip right to Mary Jane. That's definitely like a really, great and meaningful addition to the Spider-Man franchise. Initially when you think they were going to do it, it's almost because, we don't want to, tell the Mary Jane story again since we're revamping the franchise, relaunching the franchise. So I'm ranting and rambling at this point. If I wrote this review, or not right, if I made this review like 2 weeks ago, or if I made it a month from now, I bet it would have a different tone than what it does now. But I saw this movie at the point in my life that I saw it, and it is what it is. So I appreciated the love story here. I really feel like it was really just a great, powerful, moving story, and I'm glad that I experienced it at the point in my life that I did, because again, I'm going to take from it what I did, and I don't want to talk about that part of the story anymore. So, thank you guys for bearing with me through a little bit of soul searching and reviewing. So, let's get into the nitty gritty. The other aspect of the story is the constant questioning of what happened to my parents. Why did they leave me? Why was I abandoned? And I feel like they did a really cool job of telling, that story and kind of surmising it all. And in a way, it kind of gives new perspective on where Spider-Man came from and why, those radioactive spiders did what they did to him. Basically his dad used his own DNA, and, that is why, it didn't make... That's why it made Kurt Connors go crazy, why it ultimately makes Harry Osborn go crazy, and, all of that. So, I can say that just the way that he finds them is kind of well done. Like the whole scene in general, like just showing him uploading to Roosevelt, a video, the video that you see him making in the first movie before Peter interrupts him. So that was kind of cool. Just the way it all kind of played together. Seeing what looked like Windows like 95 again, or whatever it was supposed to be. That was kind of cool. So yeah, like it definitely it tied up some loose ends as far as that's concerned. Now Peter understands what happened to his parents, and I don't know if they ever really addressed that in the comics. I don't really know the history of Spider-Man that well, but in any event, they did kind of tie it up in the movie, so that was pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about Norman Osborn being dead. I feel like he's going to come back to life somehow. Like, I feel like, Harry, I know Norman was supposed to be dead. Like, I know he was supposed to be dead. And, he does die, and that's also a big part of the Spider-Man lore. And I know Norman Osborn is supposed to be dead and dies too. But, I just really feel like, get out of the way of the Juggernaut. I really feel like, the Green Goblin to me is Norman Osborn. And I don't know, I feel like in the comics at this point, it's always Norman Osborn, and Harry's just kind of always been dead. I understand why they keep going back to Harry. And, I also want to say Dane DeHaan. I have no idea who he was. This is my first time seeing him in a movie. And I thought he was fantastic. I thought he really did a great job as, Harry Osborn, as, the Green Goblin. I really don't like the Green Goblin look, and I hope they can refine it in the next movie. But I think, in general, he did a great job as the Green Goblin. So that's really great. They definitely did a good job of basically, establishing him, establishing that Norman died. I think a lot of people will agree with me that Norman Osborn is kind of the Green Goblin to them. It's just, he is the iconic Green Goblin, and I hope there's a way to bring him back at some point, as Green Goblin. But, for now, I'm okay with everything. I feel like the way they established Harry into the story was really great. It really explained, a lot in a way. Sorry, I'm concentrating on the game too. Just keep that in mind if I start like rambling and ranting, that I am concentrating on the game too. So, I really felt like Harry Osborn brought a lot to the table. When they announced that Jamie Foxx was going to be Electro, and they showed him as Ultimate Electro, I was pretty upset about it. I actually, I don't like Ultimate Electro. I really don't. I really feel like, and as corny as the yellow and green, Electro suit may look, to me that is and always will be Electro. With that said, what they did with Jamie Foxx and Max Dillon as Electro really made a lot of sense, and it really worked really well. So, they made him really powerful. Like, I don't really feel like Electro, I always felt like Electro was kind of a joke. Like, he was almost like, in a way, the Aquaman of the Sinister Six. Like, maybe I'm just mistaken. You wouldn't think a guy with the power of electricity would be a joke, but, I don't know. I never really gave him the appreciation maybe he deserved. And I feel like with Max Dillon and, the shiny blue suit and, the way that they really portrayed him as Electro, that really, was more than just a visual effects thing. Yeah, there's a lot of visual effects that went into it. And that's fine, that's fair. But I don't really feel like initially I felt like, hey, they're just doing this so they can get, a black guy in the movie and have Jamie Foxx in the movie, and make it look pretty. And I guess to an extent maybe they did, but it really worked. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that it worked really well, and I'm okay with it now. Like, having seen it, how it played out, I'm just really okay with it. So I don't really hold that against them, and you shouldn't either, because it really worked out fine. He is definitely a great character. I think you kind of feel bad for him because he doesn't want to be in the position that he's in. It's just the way it works out. And, you can tell that everything that's happening to him kind of makes him go a little crazy. And, that's part of the story, just the way it goes. So there's obviously some manipulation. I mean, Harry Osborn, you can tell he's slowly going crazy because he finds out he's dying, just like his father. They do show, again, the death of Norman Osborn. So those two end up working together, and, Harry becomes mad and obsessed with Spider-Man, because he feels like Spider-Man's blood can save him, and, Peter just won't give it to him. And, that makes sense. Peter's always been about responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. And, that's what we all respect about him. That's always been his message. And, that's evident in all that. In the fact that, he does things the way that he does. So, he ends up not giving Harry his blood. Harry goes crazy. Harry finds out that the Spider Venom, he's really upset that the Spider Venom got destroyed, and the Spider Venom that Kirk Connors used, to become the Lizard, because of the investors, and he ends up finding out that it is still there, and he ends up having it, and that is how he ends up getting his Green Goblin powers. Now, to be honest with you, that is one aspect I don't know the accuracy and legitimacy of. It's very, very possible that that's really not how it goes down in the comics. It's just like an approximation of how it happens. But in any event, I'm okay with the way it goes down, because I really feel like it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It works for me, and that's pretty cool. One thing that I do have to say, though, is they obviously show the Sinister Six. They show Ravencroft. They show a lot of things that are big in the comics. They get into all that, but at the end of the day, I just feel like it all ends up coming back to Harry Osborn. And I guess I get why they're doing it in a way. It kind of makes it quick and easy. You don't have to do another origin story for Venom. You don't have to do another origin story for Carnage. You don't have to do an origin story for Vulture, for Dr. Octopus, for a lot of these characters. I feel like for Kraven, you can, or for Rhino, I think I already said Vulture. You can just basically say, hey, here they all are. We put together our Sinister Six, and this is how it's going to work. And I guess that makes sense from a movie perspective, especially. But they're going to do a Sinister Six movie. That's like the rumor, is just have a Sinister Six movie, movie without Andrew Garfield and Spider-Man. And I feel like that would make, if they're going to do that, that would be great to do, before it gets down to Spider-Man 3, the Amazing Spider-Man 3, and let that kind of be its own thing. Maybe it's even some of those Marvel shorts with the Sinister Six. Not like well, I guess you kind of have to have a full production. You've got Bart Giamatti as Rhino. You've got, Harry DeHaan, who by no means is a household name. You've got him as, the Green Goblin. God knows who they're going to have be Vulture or Dr. Octopus. and I think Mysterio and Craven are going to end up being the other two members of the Sinister Six, because I guess theoretically Electro's dead. Although I guess they could bring him back, but that would be an even bigger challenge for a Sinister Six movie. That's not like a huge production, because you've got Jamie Foxx that you're trying to bring back for a Sinister Six movie. So, long story short, this movie really sets up a lot. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the Sinister Six. I hope the rumors are true and they do have another movie that focuses on just them and how they originate. That way that, Spider-Man 3 can be, about, meeting Mary Jane and all of that, and bringing Mary Jane into the fold. Because I feel like if you're going to keep redoing this franchise, Mary Jane is such a huge part of it, and you really need to, involve her next. Spider-Man always has that love interest. It's part of, what makes him. So, just as much as, the whole hero thing. And hey, here's Green Goblin now. So, I don't know that, what the right move is for The Amazing Spider-Man 3. I also don't know how many movies they had planned. A lot of people seem to think you have to do movies in trilogies, and I certainly subscribe to that a little bit. It's definitely makes sense. I understand why you do them in threes, but I really feel like they need to have, more than just 3 movies, the way that they've set it up. There really needs to be, an Amazing Spider-Man 3, and at least a Sinister Six movie, Like, there has to be that. I gotta get out of the way, Ooh, I just barely got out of the way. You need to have all this. It's gonna really do wonders. It's gonna make a lot of sense. I cannot tell where Rhino is, if he's gonna kill me. Oh, there he is. One of my biggest complaints about this game is when you're fighting these huge open world boss battles, you can't see stuff like that. So, whatever. So in any event, I feel like this was just such an amazing, not an amazing movie, but really it was an awesome movie. I enjoyed it. I think that you will too. If you're like a fringe Spider-Man fan, if you just like comic books, I think that you're going to find a way to love it. It's definitely worth your time. It's definitely, a well-made movie. It looks pretty. It's just a very well-made movie, and I can certainly think of worse movies that you're gonna see. There is a scene after the credits, and it has nothing to do with Spider-Man. It actually is a tie-in with X-Men: Days of Future Past, which is the next big movie that's coming out soon. So definitely make sure you stick around for that scene after the credits. I really love the last scene, like going back to the Sinister Six, the last few scenes of the movie. I really feel like the way they showed off the Sinister Six, even though I'm really not a huge fan of the fact that they're making it seem like Harry Osborn put the whole team together, I kind of like the idea of all of them kind of, existing autonomously and then just kind of slowly, getting together. But they're obviously not going to make that many movies to be able to do that. So I get why they're, kind of like taking this shortcut, if you will. And that's fair. That's fine. I get it. So, I'm just trying to sort things out over here real quick before I sell. There we go. There's that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next. Spider-Man again. I did not mean to do that. As I said earlier in the, review, Spider-Man is not a character that means as much to me as he probably does to a lot of other people. So I'm not quite as defensive as I would be if this were, say, Guardians of the Galaxy. When I review Guardians of the Galaxy, I will more than likely be much more defensive of the minor details. There are definitely some minor details of this movie that kind of make you scratch your head. For one, Dr. Kafka, I think it was, in the comics, Dr. Kafka is a female, and they made it a dude in this movie, and really, and they killed him. I mean, it really serves no purpose to me. Like, that could have been anybody, and I just feel like they chose that name just for the sake of it being a real character in the comics, which for me is I guess whatever, but it doesn't make all the sense in the world, but I guess that's not my decision to make. Again, I'm just kind of sorting everything out here the way that I do. So, yeah, whatever, we'll give that up here. I mean, I'm sitting on it, I might as well. So, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you guys thought, how you guys, what you felt about the movie, what you liked, what you didn't like, what could have been done better. If I'm full of crap, if you need to tell me to just cut the shit and get over my stuff, I totally understand. And trust me, I wish it were that easy. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this movie, and I really think that you guys will too, and I hope that you do. It's fun. I mean, just I guess as comic book fans, a lot of times we tend to take things really seriously. Maybe more serious than we need to, just because there's so many things to appease. There's so many people to appease. There's so many people that have different goals and different wants and what they want to see out of a character. And just Spider-Man is that, ultimate, seminal comic book character, like I said very early in this video. Without any further ado, I should probably stop now. I'm sure I'll think of a million other things that I wanted to say after I'm done making this video, but I feel like I've rambled enough for you guys, and kind of like the love story and how it carries on in the movie, I carried on talking about it here. So bottom line for me, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. There's definitely a lot there for you. You know what? One thing I didn't say, I thought Bart Giamatti, I think he's a great actor and everything. I hated his portrayal of the Russian, and I thought it was so cheesy. Like, it was definitely, that's one of those parts of the movie where it's like, oh, this is totally, made for kids. And to be fair, I think the Rhino is a freaking buffoon. Like, I don't really take Rhino very seriously at all. Like, he's just a 2-bit, juggernaut wannabe, as far as I'm concerned. But I just thought he was just stupid as Rhino. I also just don't understand. Well, I mean, I guess I understand that they're trying to establish that Norman Osborn was was trying to build like a military presence and everything. And that's the whole purpose behind all of his suits and stuff like that. I get all that, but also with the cross genetics and Rhino, having been sort of a real Rhino, I just felt like the mechanical suit thing is just not doing it for me. Like, for Vulture, I get it. For Mysterio, I'll get it. For Dr. Octopus, I'll get it. For Green Goblin, I get it. But they had an opportunity to make Rhino one of those cross-species guys, and they're just not going to do it. So, whatever, I guess. Hey, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling and talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like I said, it's more of a discussion than it is a review. I'm sure that there are other people that do it better, but I did this for me, and I did it hoping you guys appreciate it and understand it and like it. And yeah, man, like, hey, this movie I think is worth your time. So if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me whatever you need to say, and just overall have a good day. See ya.